The other thing on the agenda was a moratorium. That was a response by the public to a feeling, a very strong response by the public to a feeling that they were cut out of the planning process in a decision made by this commission and the committee that was Emily and Linda, who voted to not discuss a zone change any further on Main Avenue. The zone change was recommended in our master plan based on the 2006 study. So our planning and zoning department had done their research. Starting in 2006 and in 2008, it went into recommending that we implement the contents of that study. And that study was to reduce retail size, among other things, on that stretch. So that did come up last fall and into last winter. And the public had a desire to have a lot of input, same way that you went to row 8 and you're getting public input on the parking. And we actually have in our master plan continue to actively seek and listen to public participation in the preparation of future plans, continue to encourage the participation of a greater number of residents in future planning. So in that case where that zone change was, the discussion was ended, we never got the public hearing. And so we had entire neighborhoods who were going to be impacted by one particular project which was withdrawn, but they were very concerned about the impacts of that project on their neighborhoods of Silvermine and Cranberry. And in terms of relating back to the master plan and the study, which said to protect public health and safety because of traffic, the heavy traffic and the high accident rate on Main Avenue, that was the reason, the rationale given for reducing the retail size. Now, we talked about it for a few months. We compromised on the size. We went from 10,000 to 35,000. As a compromise, I was spearheading the zone change. And then when the discussion ended, it was a bit of a shock to a lot of members of the public. So the idea of a moratorium for that stretch, the entire stretch of Main Avenue, not to affect any particular property at all, but to take in context this Area 2, which is from New Canaan Avenue to Linden Street, in particular on Main Avenue, which was where we were talking about the zone change, was to allow us to sit back and review the intent and the public's interest in that zone change, and to basically open it up to the process to allow the public to have more input. We never got the public hearing. It would have been great if we'd gotten the public hearing on that, but we never did. And so, you know, I'm not convinced the moratorium is necessarily the way to go. It was an idea that came out of from the public. And so I appreciate you allowing this to go onto the agenda, Joe. I know already that the general consensus is not to go for a moratorium or approve a moratorium. We have a good sense of that on this commission, and with staff's apprehension about it, it might put a chilling effect on development. But I just want to say that honestly, it was maybe perhaps a radical reaction, but it was a reaction to the public feeling like they were shortchanged, not just the public, but some public officials as well in Norwalk. And so I don't know how to address this, but there are ways that the public could be invited, perhaps in a letter. We can accept comments, for instance. Just open it up and say, put out an announcement that we will accept comments on the possible Main Avenue zone change, even though the discussion was ended, and that possibly we could open it up again in the future, or we can work out some other kind of process, but with the idea of the public not being a part of such an important zone change that was part of our master plan.
Mike, can I just make one comment here? Because the thing that most concerns me is that